Hi, welcome to Numbers Behind the Headlines, where data tells the real story. Some argue that vaccination should be left up to individuals and their families, emphasizing personal choice and bodily autonomy. Others point out that diseases like measles are highly contagious and that protecting vulnerable members of a community depends on reaching high levels of immunity across the population, a concept known as herd immunity. In this video, we're going to step away from the rhetoric and look directly at the numbers. Specifically, we'll examine whether differences in vaccination coverage across states are associated with measles outbreaks. Before we look at the data, let's clarify what we mean by herd immunity. For measles, public health researchers typically estimate that about 92 to 95% of a population needs immunity to prevent sustained outbreaks. That's because measles is one of the most contagious diseases we know. Measles spreads through populations made up of different age groups, each with different levels of protection. To capture that structure, I looked at vaccination rates for three age groups in each state: young children, kindergartners, and teens. For each group, I recorded whether vaccination coverage met or exceeded 92%. From there, I created a herd immunity score for each state. A score of 0 means that none of the age groups reached the threshold. A score of 1 means one group did. A score of 2 means two groups did. And a score of 3 means all three age groups met the herd immunity threshold. Next, we need to define what we mean by a measles outbreak. Using CDC data, I calculated measles cases per million residents for each state. I classified a state as having a measles outbreak if it reported more than 5 cases per million during the period covered by the data. When we graphed measles outbreaks by herd immunity score 0, 1, 2, and 3, a clear pattern begins to emerge. States with lower scores tend to have a higher proportion of outbreaks, while states with higher scores tend to have fewer. Notice that among states with a herd immunity score of 0, about 50% experienced a measles outbreak. By contrast, among states with a herd immunity score of 3, just one state, about 9%, experienced an outbreak. To formally test whether this observed pattern is likely to occur by chance, I ran a chi-square test of independence. A chi-square test is a statistical method used to determine whether there is a significant association between two categorical variables, in this case, herd immunity score group, and whether a state experienced a measles outbreak. Some of the herd immunity score categories contained too few states to produce reliable results, so I collapsed the scores into two groups: low vaccine score states with scores of 0 or 1, and high vaccine score states with scores of 2 or 3. This ensures that the assumptions for the chi-square test are met. On completing a chi-square test, I found a p-value of 0.039. This value indicates that there is a statistically significant association between herd immunity score and the presence of measles outbreaks at the 5% significance level. Click on the video linked here if you'd like to learn more about how to conduct your own chi-square test. While our results do not tell us anything about individual choices or motivation, it does show how population level immunity relates to population level outcomes, and how the structure of immunity across age groups matters when we analyze contagious diseases. If there's a claim in the news you've seen recently that made you stop and say, I have questions about that number, feel free to share it here. If you want to start your journey in data driven analysis and better understand how numbers like these are calculated, our book, Real World Statistics: A Student's Guide to Understanding and Using Data, is a helpful place to begin. And if you like data driven looks at the numbers behind the news, subscribe to Numbers Behind the Headlines. Links to additional discussion ideas, data sources, and real world statistics are included below.